This is our first live series from Navin's, and today we will be talking about the impact of the pandemic COVID-19 on Chennai's real estate landscape. So, Navin's has been in the industry for more than 3 decades, that's 30 years. They've completed around 120 plus projects, that's closely around 60 lakh 6,546 square feet of area. So today for the live, we have two experts from the real estate industry. We have Mr. Viswajith Navin, Director, Navin Housing and Properties, and we have Mr. Sivarama Krishnan, who is the MD JLL Chennai. So to tell a little about our director, he has been in the industry for more than 12 plus years. He has mastered in real estate strategy, valuation, and formulation. So he has a keen eye for technology, and the quest for excellence drives the entire company to strive for the best. So now I would request our director to introduce the other speaker for the day.
Thank you, Agalya. That was a very kind and flattering introduction. Um, Good afternoon, Shiva.
Good afternoon, Navin.
So Shiva, hi Shiva. I know Shiva for almost 12 plus years now from my stint in JLL. So Shiva, he's a civil engineer. That I didn't know for a long time. So from Trishore, and then he was with HDFC Bank for a fair bit of time before moving into the real estate sphere here in Chennai, and then they moved up the ladder quite quickly. I would say, Shiva was instrumental in setting up the real estate, residential real estate division at CBRE, and now he's moved back to JLL, where he is heading the Indian residential real estate services of the IPC, and he also heads Chennai. He's a managing director here at Chennai JLL. So Shiva, it's an absolute pleasure having you here on our first ever webinar. I thought we will walk our audience through the real estate sector. What's been happening in the last year or so? Over to you, Shiva.
So thanks a ton, Navin, for all sweet, lovely introduction from his side. And so just to look at from different crises. So we have gone through different crises. We had a dot-com crisis in 2000. We had a similar oil crisis again in 2000, 2001, 2002. We had a 2008 GFC crisis. Then now we are standing in front of the biggest of all crises that we would have seen in our generation or generations of last 7 to 8 generations would not have seen this kind of crisis. The crisis today is of several fold, manifold compared to what has happened in 2008, 2009. But it's very interesting to see that from a real estate perspective, what's going to happen. So I will start off from a commercial office leasing perspective. So last 4 to 5 years has been a dream run for office leasing market. 2019 we closed close to about 43 million square feet of net leasable area across India. This is phenomenal compared to what's happening in other asset classes in the real estate sector. And even today we feel that despite the crisis, what we feel is that the supply side, the landlord side of the market across cities are still stable. The demand, there could be a pause button for the time being, for maybe another 3 to 4 months time. But what we have seen in last 2 months is that those deals or those clients who are in the very final stage of conclusion in terms of the LOI or agreement to lease or lease are still going ahead with the deal. So from a commercial perspective, there are a lot of noises going around like work from home. What's going to happen from a work from home perspective? What will happen to an office leasing market? Yes, work from home is here to stay. There is no 2 days about it. But it was also happening pre-COVID days. But what's going to happen post-COVID is it's going to be in a very structured or organized manner. So 10 to 15% of workforce definitely is going to go back to homes and work from home, and that's a real possibility as we speak now. and that possibility with respect to the norms that is going to emerge from the COVID era, which is de-densification. Definitely the office spaces after 2008 GFC crisis shrunk from 120 square feet per employee to about 70 to 80 square feet per employee. It might go back to about 100, 120 square feet per employee at this juncture. That might so whatever you're losing in terms of work from home might get compensated in terms of the de-densification that we're talking about. The real estate, the commercial real estate, we feel will really definitely will bounce back in about say 3 to 6 months time. In next 2 quarters, you will see some positive side happening in the commercial sector is concerned. The two sectors, despite COVID being in place, has not touched at any aspect. Is one is industrial, another one is data center. Now, data center, the way we are talking today, the data is extremely critical. The OTT platform that we are seeing today, the technology, the Zoom, the Microsoft Teams, data becomes extremely significant. And with all the privacy norms which are changing in India, data center is one asset class is going to pick up in next 2 to 3 years and is already picked up. That's one asset class where we've not seen any dearth of inquiries in last 2 months time. Industrial, there is a huge demand for warehousing, especially from an e-commerce platform. Manufacturing definitely has to pick up. There is a lot of noise around the firms, the corporates, and the manufacturing plants will shift from some of these countries to safer havens like India, Vietnam, Korea, on these kind of a thing, because consider the fact that they don't put everything in one basket in one country. So diversification is going to be the norm in the industrial sector is concerned. So you'll see that effect happening on the industrial and warehousing asset class is concerned. Retail is definitely taken a hit at this juncture, and that'll be one of the last asset class to bounce back. There is no two ways about it, and there could be a contrarian view also, because once and what we're seeing in last 10 days time, once you slowly open up, people are coming back into economy, people are coming back to business. So you never know, the pent up demand that we're seeing might happen once the malls and other sectors open up. So retail also can make a quick comeback on that is concerned. The misery is real. The problems are real. There are losses happening in certain job sector. There are certain losses happening in the lower extreme parts. We know the movement of migrant from one state to another state definitely impact in terms of the construction is concerned. Then comes interesting the 78% of the real estate, which is your residential real estate. So I want to compare with the 2008-2000 crisis. So we always need to compare what is going to be the impact of COVID 2020 vis-a-vis 2008-2009. 2008-2009 also we went through that crisis of global financial crisis. Liquidity was a problem that point of time. But let's compare it. Let's look at 3 parameters. What was the valuation in 2008-2009? The market was going up and up and up. It was an overheated market. Look at the lending rates, which is an extremely important aspect as far as the buyer is concerned. It was going up. It was touching close to about 8.2, 8.5, and by 2010-11 we touched as high as 10.25 to 10.5%. So that's an important criteria. Look at the property prices, and I said the valuation is another thing. The real thing which matters, the property pricing for customers today. And I have termed a coin called the affordable synergy. Now, 2013 to 2020, there has been a lot of strain in the residential real estate market, and because of the reason, the price points have not been really going up for last 3 to 4 years, to be precise. So the prices have actually bottomed out. The room to cut the price for any developer is extremely limited in most of the micro markets and most of the segments within the residential real estate class. And so the housing loan rate also is coming down from a all-time high of about 11% is dropped. And yesterday's RBI is after a further cut in the repo rates in the monetary policy, the chances of the rate slipping below a 7.1, 7.2% is real today. So here one side you have got housing loan rate going down, which in turns create the affordability in terms of buying a larger property, affordability in terms of buying a property again, plus the property prices, which is not overheated. There is no speculation going on. The property prices to great extent is affordable. So there is a synergy happening in terms of housing loan rates and the and the housing and the property market. Now, one more significant point, Navin, from today's market is that 95% of the market is driven by end users. And this is the best market to look at in terms of buying property. So you have one side you got the housing loan rates going down, another rate you have the property prices to a great extent bottomed out. You know that we all know across India we've been looking at the balance sheets, the margins of developers that dwindled down. It's close to about a single digit at this juncture. To room to cut, and with last 2 months looks very tough for any developer to further cut the price at this juncture. From that perspective, I think this is the best time. And always I believe that a perceived weak market, which is currently a perceived weak market, is the best time for an end user to come in. And sorry to say that one of the biggest fallout of this disaster of COVID is also an opportunity for residential real estate. There is an inherent urge for customers to own a property today, and that we are witnessing for last 30-40 days time. In fact, we are sensing saying that the sales cycle will collapse and there will be no inquiries, because there are two threats which is running in the mind of the customer, which is real. Which one is there could be a possible salary cut. There is another area which is could be a job cuts. This was running in the mind of customers. So as consultants, as advisors, we felt that the sales cycle will collapse. But interestingly, what we are seeing is different reactions in different cities. A city like Bangalore, we have seen an inherent demand going up for luxury. In fact, last 30 days, we are witnessing some movement towards luxury. There are site visits happening, there are conversions happening, there are closures happening in last 30 days time, which is a significant point. So the urge which I spoke about, saying that there is a tendency to buy and to have a self-owned home, which also customers believe that having a home is the most safer at this juncture, is also started building up with these two movements happening. Their housing loan rates coming down, the property prices going down, also as acting as an incentive for customers to buy. Plus, one more point which I'll add before I come back to Navin is that there is also a good possibility in about 2 quarters or about 6 to 8 months down the line, the investors who were domestic investors who typically went away from the real estate market to a stock market, and might come back, might do a return to the real estate market. It could be a rent yielding assets, it could be a residential real estate market, because I believe one of the important aspects for any investor is control that he has in his money. In a stock market, what we witnessed in last 3 weeks or 4 weeks is that the volatility that has come and creeped into the market, there is no control in money. One day it's going up, one day it's coming down by 30 to 40%. So I believe that the domestic investors have started sensing the fact that the investment tool or the instrument to invest real estate is a better tool at this juncture, especially when those time of crisis. And I always call the stock market as a drama queen. Whenever there's somebody sneezes, somebody cries, the queen starts crying, and that effect is happening on the money that you've invested, which is not the case in the real estate sector. So we're quite positive. The office market will bounce back in a short span of time. Industrial and data center is already on a good move. Residential, I believe, with all these factors, which is positive. So I sincerely believe it's I may be brutal, and the COVID has actually given a blessing in disguise for end users to come into the market, because otherwise I don't think RBI would have cut down the repo and reverse repo to the current rates below 4%. It was unbelievable and unimaginable a couple of months back. So it has given opportunity for all the customers and end users who want to really invest and to come and buy the property. Also significantly, the one prime mover of residential real estate, especially the housing in the upper and middle class, is the ITS segment. To great extent, that is not affected to as we speak now. So that also will add to the bounce back sooner than expected. Navin. That's my initial thoughts on the various asset classes.
Thank you, Siva. It's a lovely summary of what's been happening and how COVID has impacted. This is beautiful. So one news that we have is SBI has already cut back passed on most of that 440 bips Right now, the interest rates are at around 7%. So I think it's only a matter of time other banks that would follow suit in terms of reducing interest rates. So that's good news that we already have. Um, so we'll before trying to look at summarizing or taking questions. I also thought, how do you think understanding how do you think the sales is going to get impacted? Is there going to be digitization? Are people going to see more? The research is going to come down to a particular way, methodology from the consumer perspective. I thought I'll hear you out there. Shiva, you're on mute.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Navin, I've been in this witnessing this housing market for the last 15, 16 years. And one significant factor which I've seen in unlike any other product that we sell, there is no maximum retail price in housing market. So you go to one street, you have somebody selling at 5,000 rupees, somebody selling at 4,000, somebody selling at 4,500. So customers are already getting very, very confused. He doesn't know whether I should buy in one product, there is a track record, whether I should go for another product which is about 30-40% lower than what is currently selling. So it gets highly confused. And so one important aspect transformation that will happen as we move forward is expertise in terms of understanding the market in a macro level. You need to understand the entire aspect from a comprehensive manner. That's extremely important. So any salesperson sitting in the market, in any site or any product that is selling, need to understand and convey that back in a very transparent manner. So transparency becomes extremely important. Trust is another important aspect. So because any house buying, it takes about 2 to 3 years. The moment you give an advance, at the time of inception, when you launch the project, till the time you deliver the product, there's a 3-year engagement. Beyond that, you still engage with them. Whenever there is an issue, you go back, help the customer. So trust is an important aspect. Transparency is an important aspect. And expertise in what you're doing is also an important aspect. So you will not have fly-by-night operators coming into the segment. You need to be as knowledgeable as possible in terms of construction. That plays an important role. You're right. Digitalization is going to be the important aspect as we move forward. So with social distancing in place, pre-COVID, you can also relate to what I'm saying. When an inquiry comes to your lab, what do? First thing that you do is let's go and meet the customer. Let's have a face-to-face meeting. And the next thing that you do is that let's try to get the customer to the site, because I've run a wonderful product. I've got a quality product in front of me. Let me showcase the product back to the customer and convince him from whatever strengths I have. Pricing, other aspects comes later. So you'll try to showcase the location, showcase the product. So the next important thing that you do in the cycle is site visit. So maybe a customer conversation or a meeting and then followed with the site visit. I think these two things will go down in the list as we move forward. So right from the inquiry generation to the final bit of your thing, till the negotiation, you need to digitalize. And that is an important aspect. So every aspect of the cycle of sales need to be digitalized today. So we are all trying to see how we can digitalize that aspect. And the final thing is going to be the customer walking into the site, understanding about the location and the actual place and the plan. So site visit is going to become the last thing in the mind of the customer. So you need to give maybe a drone shot, maybe digitalize whatever is possible, get the confidence of the customer and come back. And also another important aspect is that, as I said, transparency. You need to know what's happening. It's just not selling a living room, dining room, or a toilet or a kitchen. You need to sell real estate. You need to sell the location. You need to sell the micro market. You need to sell the city. You need to understand. So the confidence on the customer needs to be instilled, and that has to come from a knowledgeable sales guy. And the customer also is going to be researching more and more, understand. So he also is going to come to you with a lot of expertise, a lot of understanding, because it's going to be a bigger commitment. He doesn't want to falter, which is happening for the last 3-4 years, which is further going to go up as we move forward. That's my sense what's going to happen as we proceed in next 60 to 90 days time.
Yes, so absolutely. I think I also hear from other developers the amount of digitalization that's happening, but I think that's here to stay. We also see other industries extensively doing digitalization. Um, another thing that keeps coming is the the time frame that you were talking about. Couple of years to 3 years. But right now, there has been quite a lot of talk about the amount of inventory that's readily available. So probably another incentive for someone looking to buy a home because of the safety that is, I mean, guaranteed delivery, especially with RERA extending 6 months on the cycle to deliver apartments versus ready to move in. Your thoughts on that, Shiva?
With the structural reform that just come in place a couple of years back, that is RERA. So the confidence on the customer has really gone up. So there are see every sector has got the crooks, and every sector has got good people and bad people in the sector. So because of that, the government had to come and regulate the whole sector. RERA was a product of that, and it has given immense confidence to the customer to stay put in order to take a decision in terms of buying a property, because your money is safe. It is in the escrow account. You're not going to siphon off the money to buy another land. So that has given a significant transformation as far as the residential real estate is concerned. In terms of the unsold completed inventory, I have a small kind of a take on that, Navin. Is that if you really look at, see, the problem today is that we also need to be blamed at some point of time, is that we take the entire phase as unsold and start projecting. So the product that needs to be completed before you call it as an unsold completed inventory. Even today, the unsold completed inventory in any city is very, very limited compared to the overall stock that is available in the market. And with the strain in the market for last 5 to 6 years, the launches have come down. The supply side has been going down on a year-on-year basis. We expected the market to really revive in the year 2018 beginning, but we had demonetization 2017. It created a negative impression. I'm being extremely honest. There was a perception, so the price will go down. The price never went down, but there was a perception it slowed down the market. Again, GST came in, and we were expecting 2019, after a superb commercial leasing in place, to take off in 2020. Again, our COVID has come and hit us. So we had 3 tsunamis in last 3 years, starting from demonetization, GST, and now the biggest of all, which is COVID today. So the prices to great extent has bottomed out. So that's my significant point. And the supply side is going down on a yearly basis. And surprisingly, Navin, 1 quarter back, some of the cities we've seen the sales on that particular year overtaking the supply in that particular city, which is extremely significant. I'll give a small statistics. I'm taking now. I don't want to get on Chennai at this juncture. I'll give Navi Mumbai today. Navi Mumbai in 2010, the average supply which came into the market was 36,000 units. Now the average supply which is seen in last 3 years is around 7 to 8,000 units, which means 2010, 11, 12 each year gave 5 years inventory. And all our problems, we are seeing that the price is not going down, but going up, which is good for the end users, is because of supply. So at the end of the day, supply has actually helped the customers to take a call of buy. But the problem what happened for the developers in the last 3 years is the margins have shrunk to the level they're not able to clearly get the cash flows in place, the working capital and the margins. Any business definitely needs some margins also. I believe if the margin side will start going up, the second thing is that the inventory levels in every market is slowly coming down, and COVID is going to further accentuate that. And with that reason, what is going to happen is that the price will start moving up in next 3 to 6 months time. That is one of the reasons I'm saying this is the best time for any end user to take a decision of buy.
Thank you, Shiva. Quickly, I think we are getting questions, so I'll quickly sum up.
I just want to ask one question to you, Navin.
Sure, Shiva.
What's your take on this migrant labor happening? What's the take on the construction that is going to happen? Because you have the nose on the ground, you know it very well what's happening. We are hearing a lot of stuff. People are moving from one state to another state. So what's the real scene scenario? What's happening in the construction industry at this juncture?
Um, that's a very, very pertinent question at this time. For the last 5, 6 weeks, ever since the lockdown 1 and lockdown 2, the migrant laborers. I mean, we and I think most developers have managed to keep the migrant laborers appeased, giving them the government also came in with the help of CREDI, provided the basic provisions. We added additional supplies to the labor, making sure it's a safe and a more habitable environment than it ever was. Some of us also gave them some cash in addition to all these supplies coming in. But about 40, 50 days of no work, and so much of news happening around with COVID and a lot of uncertainty. The laborers got jittery. They just wanted to go home. I was reading an article on the print, and I agree. Is the human's mindset is going home. I think that's what is happening right now. A lot of our laborers have gone back. In fact, most of our laborers have gone back to their hometowns in Odisha, Bihar, or UP, so on. And my sense is eventually they will come back once the lockdown lifts, once the transport systems are established, once they are certain that, hey, tomorrow I want to go home. If they think on those lines, there is a way they can reach home. Right now, there isn't. That gives them that sense of insecurity, if you will. But I think over the next month or so, they should start coming back, because another thing is they will also be losing out on wages if they're not going to be working. So they will be coming back eventually. But right now, I think for them to feel at home is something very, very important. In these testing times, they want to be close to their family, close to their hometown. So I think it's a temporary issue. But that said, of course, once they start coming back, it could take another month for the construction to get back to full swing, because the same issues will be faced by our suppliers, cement, steel, all our suppliers. So it will take a month after all laborers return for the construction to get the materials to come in, and then construction to get back to full swing. So we are probably losing 2 more months from this point, if not more, 2, maybe 3. So that's on the migrant issue. So yes, as questions are coming, I'll just quickly summarize your points. So some of these questions already get addressed. One is we talked about office space, how before GFC, the low square footage was there. Now the per square feet is moved up, gone down from 120 square feet a person to 170 to now to 120, back again to probably 120. While work from home is going to be there, this might offset the total requirement of office space. Of course, industrial being the big one, huge demand for data centers as we consume more and more megabytes now, with more data storage is required. So data center demand is going to go up. Same with your manufacturing, especially diversifying out of China. Manufacturing companies are setting up in India, Vietnam. So there is again a positive trend there. The biggest hit is probably going to be retail. Is going to take a while before it bounces back, but we don't know if pent-up demand was something. That's an interesting point that you mentioned, pent-up demand. You wouldn't naturally think that way. Going to real estate, I like the way how you compared the 2008 global financial crisis versus now, compared to back then when the property prices were overheated, whereas right now it's cooled down. It's kind of been stable for last 3-4 years. Back then the interest rates were high, 10, 11%. as opposed to, I mean, today SBI has announced about 7%. So that's a massive delta on interest rates. That's 400 pips is a lot. Then you were talking about the affordable synergy. The price point, has the market bottomed out? It possibly has bottomed out, is what you feel, because we've been stable, and there is very little scope for the real estate developer because his margins are in single digits or even less. So today, based on your access to the balance sheets, so and right now the end user, it's an end user game. Entering at a perceived weak market is probably the best time to park your money. I mean, that's something the biggest investors say: enter at the bottom and exit at the top. So that's something that you mentioned. You also thought there could be a collapse in sales cycle, but you were giving examples of how Bangalore bucked the trend. To add to that, we are seeing. We are seeing sales tractions happening. We are seeing people meeting on Skype, on Teams, and they are actually making purchases even during COVID times. Of course, there is the other point that you mentioned. Domestic investors might look at real estate as an option. Even now, REITs are doing well. That's pretty interesting how REITs are holding up despite all this. So it's I think interesting times ahead. We have a question. How do you see competition I think this is a question for me. How do you see competition between the builders at present situation? I think you can answer that part. And how Navin's will be different is something I can answer, I guess. So we'll split the question. So how do you see competition between builders at the present situation?
Competition between builders. Yeah, that's any business competition is here to stay. There is no two ways about it. So different people will position different strengths. Navin's what I've seen over a period of time is positioning their strength of quality in terms of what they put in the brochure, they deliver. This is your positioning of the product. There are certain people who say that, and also timely delivery is also another important factor. So different people will definitely position different product. Competition is here to stay. Without competition, the customer will not benefit. So even today, you will see some of developers might, even though the cash flows, even though the profit margins have dwindled, even though the price have bottomed out, there could be a case where some of the developers might sell on a cost to cost basis to survive. So there could be a possibility. So competition is here to stay. Though I don't think any major crisis, any crisis can unite and become one developer across India and catering to different segments. I don't think that's going to happen. Competition is here to stay.
Right, and to add to what Shiva said, at Navin's rightly point out is one being quality, the other being delivery. Right now, we are very well positioned to deliver our products. Right now, very little impact we see from the COVID side for whatever our ongoing projects. And of course, there are certain elements that we always do that helps you maintain social distancing. For example, the number of elevators we provide per floor. For example, in Starwood Towers, we have 110 units in a block, but we have about 3 elevators, allowing more social distancing. Most developers go with 2. We have wider corridors, 6 feet wide, as opposed to 5. In Bombay, I've seen 3.5, 4 feet wide corridors, but in Chennai, the norm is about 5 feet, but we go with 6. There are these small elements in addition to the big 2 points that Shiva did mention. So we'll take the next question. Virtual visits to site ensure proper tech enhancement. Can this be enabling factor as a lot of movement restrictions are on? So, would you like to take that question, Shiva?
So things will. Sorry, I'm on mute.
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
So I made this comment also saying digitalization is here to stay, right? Whether it's going to be a construction, I'm sure you can add more value there. Technology is going to come in, more technology is going to come inside construction. Construction technology is going to change after COVID. That's one. It will see the technology enhancements was happening in construction for a long time, but this crisis will accelerate that. In terms of technology within inside the property also will improve. People give more importance to business centers. People give more importance to stronger network. People give importance to design change elements like a study room inside a bedroom. They might carve out a small space. That is going to be an important aspect, like your amenities or your swimming pool, your gym, your health club, all that. So this business center also could be an important aspect as we move forward. The way we sell the product, the way we generate inquiry for selling the product, the way we do the sales process, the way we do the documentation will change. And I'll not be surprised if the government also step in and do e-registration. So digitalization is going to come in a major manner in the real estate, and that will help all the stakeholders, may it's builder, be it a customer, be anybody for them, including the regulator, whether it's an approval authority also. I'm sure you can add more inputs there, where I think it's more digitalization has come in terms of plan approvals. It is further going to improve all aspects of real estate, will change a drastic thing in terms of use of technology as we move forward.
Right. We have a that's something we've also incorporated in our Savo towers, for example. We have a configuration of a two bed and a study, where the third room can be used as a home office, or we also have a business center in that project. So next question, pretty popular, is why will one buy a property at this time like this, when there is no guarantee over job security? It's a very, very relevant, pertinent question. Well, I can answer, but I think people would like to hear you.
So why will somebody buy a home? And see, it's for every Indian. I think one of the important aspect which I have seen is to buy a home, and that's a dream come true for him. And that pension, that kind of an the urge to buy a home is going to stay. We're only saying that if your job is safe and your other aspects are in terms of in order, it's a great time to buy a property, because in terms of housing loan also it's come down. The property price also bottomed out. If you are in a safe wicket, and which to a large extent, in fact on the upper middle, to some extent or large extent, I can say in the ITS is safe today. That can basically so those customers can actually come and buy a property. So it's an individual choice at the end of the day, and so there could be a pause. I mean, it's very easy to come back and say people buy property, but why we're saying is it's a trigger. So anybody who's planning to buy a home in next 3 to 4 months or 5 months time, it's the best time to buy, because it's a trigger. Housing loan rates coming down, the prices not going up is actually the trigger to make the decision today. And I can give you one more suggestion why you should buy a property today. The developers will listen to you more. They will sit with you more. They'll explain to you more. They will service you more. So it's a great time for you also to come in and buy the property.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. A couple of points there. Not just service you, they will help you buy the home more. If there is even if it comes to a price negotiation, right? So if there is a price that you want, and if the developer can give, he will probably give. This is the time that's going to happen. So that's one thing. The other point being, I think the government, while there has been a lot of criticism on the 20 lakh crore incentive, I think they also extended the PMAY scheme only for this financial year, wherein the government gives anything between about 2.35 to 2.67 lakh rupees directly into your bank accounts. When you buy a home, when you fall into certain reasonable criteria. I think it's not very stringent as it used to be a couple of years ago. The criteria is also very reasonable. the PMA scheme. So that's another reason why you should buy a home now. The government's giving you free money to buy. So that's one. So we'll take the next question. I hope we answered that in that question. Next question is, can I buy a flat as an investment?
I think you should answer this question.
Sure. Certainly, buying a flat as an investment. What is happening right now is how these properties are positioned. Largely, the flats have been resized today. They are coming up in a nicer format. And as an asset class, real estate. I mean, as much as Donald Trump is not very well received, he did make sense. It's big, it's beautiful, it's real, it's beautiful, it's real estate. So it's a solid asset class, unlike the stock market. And today, in the US at least, what's happening is people who own their homes are a lot safer than those who don't. So that's one thing. But owning home is a very, very important thing. And the second, as an investment class, your options are pretty limited. And today, like Siva mentioned, real estate comes as a very, very reasonably priced buy compared to, I think, inflation adjusted real estate prices are at a 10-year low. If you adjust for inflation, that's a reason enough for you to park your money in a very, very tangible asset class. It's not paper money like the stock market, where one day its value is 10 lakh rupees or 1,500 rupees. The next day it goes kaput to 15 rupees or something. Nothing like that's going to happen. It's because it's solid. So two major reasons. And there are also interesting investment. There are also interesting investment options coming in real estate, especially apartments are the co-live situation. However, with COVID, there could be some changes in how the co-live housing is going to evolve. But that said, they have been giving a reasonable return in form of rental around 5-6%, 5% at least. When you're borrowing at 7%, and given the today at low interest rates of about 7%, so the delta is just 2%, which you would more than make up based on your tax savings that you're going to get as an investment. Plus, given that you're buying at a bottomed out market, even the capital appreciation over a 5 or 10-year period might more than cover for 2%. In fact, it will give you a lot more return than that, is what I think. So we'll take the next question. What new measures taken in infrastructure to aid social distancing and sanity? So I think that's again a question for me. In terms of at the offices, like any other retail space, there are social distancing measures. People walk in, have their hands sanitized, their temperatures checked. They're forced to maintain a social distance, no more than one person per elevator. Air conditioners are limited to standalones, so on. And at the site level, every morning, every single worker is tested for temperature. He's going through a hand sanitization, and then he follows up with a pledge that he takes specifically for COVID in his language. Like if let's say he's coming from Orissa, he takes a pledge in Oriya, and then there are additional safety engineers, safety supervisors who ensure there is social distancing maintained. And every time they move out of the site location, in addition to wearing safety equipments, whenever they come out of the site location and get back in, they go through the entire process over again. So at the site level, this happens. And at a community level, I think the community I can only talk again by what's happening at Navin's community. Our staff there are doing their best to enable social distancing. Again, our products always have more number of elevators than generally prescribed. So that allows more people to move up and down easily. There are sanitizers placed. There is so every social distancing measure is taken up. There's one question from Sai. Hi, sir. With work from home being the norm today, do you think demand for commercials? I think Siva answered this question. Demand for commercial space, will it increase or decrease? With social, he said, yes, demand might go down, but it will be adjusted by the increase in social distancing requirements. There will be, instead of having one staff per 70 square feet, now companies will be forced to have one per 120. That's the talk in Silicon Valley as well. They are looking at bigger numbers of 200 square, one person per 200 square feet. But that is America. Here, I think the trend will be that. We have Senthil. Do flats depreciate over time? Is it worth the money that we put? Can I buy a flat now and pass it on to my children maybe another 10 to 15 years from now? You want to take it? I think, Shiva, you are on mute. You're on mute.
So Navin, if you look at from an appreciation perspective, let's take what was the property pricing in, say, in certain micro markets like at T Nagar or Adyar or Thiruvanmayur or any good micro market that you can pick in year 2000 or 1990s, early 1990s or 2000. Can you compare the current pricing to what used to be 1990? So appreciation of land is eventually going to get translated into an apartment, which will definitely help you in terms of getting the price up. And the second aspect that we were trying to drive was that you're right. The liquidity in terms of getting the money out in the real estate market is a challenge. In terms, for example, you're in need of money tomorrow. You just can't liquidate a real estate residential asset and get the money today. Whereas in a stock market, you can definitely liquidate within about 2 to 3 days time and take care of your situation. But the best part for a residential real estate market, especially housing, is that the price it's a long play. It is not a short term play. It's a long 10-15 year game. So from an investor perspective, the real estate market is always cyclical. So you get opportunities to enter, you get opportunities to exit also. And today is an opportunity to enter. There was an opportunity for you to exit in from 2006 to 2013. There was an opportunity for you to exit, and people have exited between 2006 to 2013 and made a lot of money. And you will also always get these opportunity to enter and exit. What we're trying to say is that this is an opportunity for you to enter today. There will be a time in next 6 to 7 years where you can exit at a much better margin and appreciation. But it is more stable. It is not volatile. And it doesn't remain as a paper as we move forward. And some of the instruments that we're talking about can remain as a paper at some point of time. Useless paper, piece of paper, you invested, there's nothing in your hand. That will not be the case in residential real estate. One more point which I want to add from Navin, your point of the quality, in terms of the returns, is that this is the first time we are seeing the gap between the actual rate of interest that you're paying into the bank, which is about, say, 7 to 7.25% or 7.5%. You also get an yield of about 1.5% from the rental, which is about 5.5%. Now, again, you also get incentives in terms of PMIY scheme. That could be an additional 1.5%. You also get an additional incentive in terms of your principal deduction and income tax as well as interest. That is another 1.5%. You add everything. This is the first time, Navin, we are seeing the gap between the actual rate of interest that you're paying vis-a-vis what's the gain you're getting. The gap is actually coming down and is further going to come down in the next 6 to 7 months time. And that's the reason we are seeing that there's a great time to enter the real estate market.
Absolutely. And there was a last part to his question about passing it on to his children. Absolutely. I mean, it's a real estate asset. You can absolutely pass it on to your children. All the more reason for you to, if you're looking to keep it for generation. All the more reason for you to buy a very, very good quality product, not compromising. I mean, we see a lot of poor quality housing coming back into redevelopment 25, 30, 35 years in. But I know for a fact that buildings are designed to last for 60 to 100 years, depending on how well they are maintained. So a good quality product is something you need to look at if you're looking to pass it on to your next generation. But absolutely, legally speaking, you can. So the next question is, how do you see manpower issues? I think we just mentioned it earlier. I'll do it again. Right now, laborers are going back. Most of them have gone back, at least from our sides. But it's only a matter of time. Once they feel secure, once they know everything is okay at home, once they also feel the urge, they will also need to start making money, earning wages. That's the reason why they were here in the first place. Once that is back, and once there is the security that transportation back home is available, I think once the lockdown is lifted, I think labor situation will automatically ease out, and probably in a month, maybe two. But I don't see people not people staying back at home, not working for beyond 2 months. Once they feel a little more secure, they will start coming back. But the next question is, how long realistically the residential sector construction will take to revive? Also, do you see a future for red bricks versus fly ash? I think I'll take the second part of the question. Or you are a civil engineer, you could take that as well. So.
I'm out of civil engineering for the last 15 years, so you should take that question.
Yeah, but the first part is realistically, the residential sector construction will take to revive. How long do you think? That's a question. That's an interesting question.
But I think I answered the question, saying that there definitely is going to be a pause for next, say, 2 quarters, and the activity we feel that will touch about 7 to 80% of level by last quarter of this year, and which I on a pre-COVID time saying, if pre-COVID you're selling about 100 units, I think you'll touch close to about 70, 80 units by the end of this year, and by the next quarter, by the next year, first or second quarter. And the things will really bounce back is what we believe, because by that time the housing loan rates, again, why I'm stressing the point housing loan rate is because 95% of the home buyers today in India is dependent on housing loan. So housing loan becomes a major impact in terms of the decision of making this of buy or not, and everybody understands that as the rates goes down, your EMI per month also goes down. And at the same time, one more thing which happens is that the eligibility to take more loan and more in terms of a larger sized area, plus in terms of somebody who's at a 30-35 lakh level can stretch to a 40-45 lakh in next because of the rates coming down. So to add to your question, with these things, two things in place, we feel that definitely by first to second quarter of 2021, you will see the cycle moving up, the price points slowly moving up, and velocity picking up. And by that time, the COVID to a great extent would have been contained. The activity levels in all sectors would have gone up. The economy would have normalized, and that is the time the price will also start moving up. And that is one of the reasons I'm saying this window of next 6 to 8 months is a great time to enter the market. If you're an end user, if you feel that your job is stable, if you feel that you have enough depth to handle for next 6 to 8 months time. So that's the reason I'm saying this opportunity to enter the real estate market is very, very good at this point of time.
Right. Thank you, Siva. To answer your next other second half of the question, red bricks versus fly ash. I think red bricks are already on their way out. It's extremely environment unfriendly. I mean, so are fly ash these days. They're definitely better than concrete blocks. I think engineered blocks are what's going to stay for the near future. But if you're interested, we have another seminar on um, construction products, which will happen in the course of next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to us. We will be reaching out to you via email or and WhatsApp or text message. So next question we have is, will it impact Chennai OMR realty sector prices? So everyone here, Shiva, is I think they're concerned about our prices going to go down. I think we've touched that point across the board. I think property prices are right now, at least apartment prices are so low that developer margins are virtually absent or wafer thin for it to drop any further. If the property prices are going to drop, there are already developers bleeding. Already developers are reporting some sort of the loss or the other. So I don't see, and the suburban market has a small fraction only being attributed to land. The large fraction of the prices, I would say about 2/3 to 75 or even 85% of your prices goes towards construction. And I don't see how construction prices are going to go down, because India's construction is labor intensive, and those guys are at minimum wage. They're at 15,000 rupees a month. You're not going to, slam them down to take lower wages. That's not going to happen. Cement prices, we've seen what's happening with the cement industry. They've been pretty stable price. In fact, going up. If anything, cement prices have touched 400 rupees a bag right now. I hope it's a short-term phenomena, but they've always held forth. They've not dropped. I don't see cement prices holding a reduced price for a long time, for a long term, in the past 15 years. Steel again is an international commodity. For the large part, it's been staying stable around 40 rupees, give or take 15% over the last few years. So these are the biggest input materials into properties, especially on OMR, especially the suburban market. And none of them are going to go down. There is the only thing that could happen is no new supply will come if at all property prices crash. I don't see apartment prices dropping significantly, because a large chunk, like I said, is not going to land but going towards construction, and none of it is being unreasonably or logically spent. They're all very, very efficient spendings. The only component where it could vary is land. And even if land prices drop 30-40%, I don't see that happening either. But even if land prices drop 30-40%, it's not going to translate into a significant price drop in the suburban market. In city centers, maybe, but I don't know how much. There's no one who's going to take a haircut of 30% because my property is unleveraged. In India, properties are unleveraged compared to, let's say, US, where when a financial crisis happens, immediately property prices drop. Whereas in India, most of the property is ancestral. It's not corporate owned. There is no need to sell an asset. So what they will do is, when my neighbor sells a property, let's say for 1 crore, and I will not sell my property for 60 lakhs when my neighbor sells it for 1 crore. If I can't sell it for 1 crore, I will not sell it. That's what happens. And there's no need for the individual today. Back then, let's say I have a son who's wanting to study abroad, or a daughter who needs to get married, or another son who needs to get into medical school. People used to sell their properties, and they would used to raise 30, 40, 50 lakhs and spend it on this. Today, property prices are so high, and also personal loans are available. There are other means where you can raise this small capital of 30, 40, 50 lakhs. They don't need to sell a 5 crore, 10 crore asset. So people will hold on to properties when they don't get the right price. So I don't see I don't see any impact actually on OMR housing prices.
For that matter, any micro market.
Absolutely, any micro market. Has next question we have is, has RERA/CREDAI pushing for any incentives which could enhance the tendency towards investing in real estate? This apart from the RBI support reducing interest rates. I think I will take this again. I've been on the CREDAI's national youth wing as a secretary, so, and been reasonably active there. CREDAI has been pretty instrumental in pushing a lot of incentives for home buyers. One being the PMAY scheme, which I briefly talked about. Government actually puts up to 2.6 lakh, 6-7 lakh back into your bank account if you are a first-time home buyer. So there is that incentive. Of course, CREDAI has been pushing a lot of incentives with the government. I mean, we've been talking to the government to remove the tax cap of the tax deduction cap of 2 lakh rupees on interest. But the government has been, I mean, it's always not easy to get all the incentives, right? So some things come through, some things don't. But we are actively trying hard at CREDAI to maximize home buyer support. Next question we have is, I hope I answered that question. What is the average rate of return on investment, CAGR, can one expect from residential real estate investment? It's an interesting question, Shiva. I can do a quick math. I think when you timing is everything here. You enter at the bottom of the market before it starts rising. Of course, you can't time it to perfection. Warren Buffett is spoken about timing to. No one can time anything to perfection. You can try and get it approximately right. So we feel this is the bottom of the market. So in return on investment, what happens is it's absolutely long term. 10 years, Shiva was talking about it, 6, 7, 10, 15 years is the game that you play in real estate. The biggest return comes in the form of capital appreciation. Of course, rental returns are going to be 2%, 3%. Your best case could be, let's say, investing in co-live homes at 4, 5%. But your best is going to be your capital appreciation, which will it happen? It certainly will happen. We have a growing population, unlike European countries where populations is dropping. You have growing population, city population is growing, so new homes are required. People are moving from joint families into nuclear families, so more homes are required. People want to upgrade to bigger homes, more homes are required. People want to upgrade to nicer homes, more homes are required. People want a holiday home, more homes are required. So there is this nascent demand that is also slowly getting built up as the market being solidified or slowing down at one side. So this demand is eventually bound to come back into the system, which will trigger a massive capital appreciation over 10, 15 years. If you look at history, Shiva talked about T Nagar, Tirvanmure 10, 15 years ago. I mean, they used to be, I know T Nagar used to be 2,000 rupees a square foot back in the year 2000. So now, right now, we are talking 15, 16, 17, 18,000 rupees a square foot. So, I mean, like Shiva said, if you time your exit right, you would have made a lot more returns. Had you exited in 2013, you would have still gotten that 16, 17, 18,000 in T Nagar. But today is the time to enter. That's what we feel.
Just want to add, Navin,
sure.
That. See, unlike in a stock market where you see the indexation on a day-to-day basis, how the market is moving up, how the market is coming down, to make an entry and exit. The difficulty in the real estate market is that only when you know the market has actually gone up, for a layman, for a normal customer, he'll only know when the price have actually gone up by 25-30%. He realizes saying that, oh, the price have really gone up, and he enters. And typically what we've seen in last 10-15 years is a herd mentality, and the prices starts moving up. That's a case in any investment tool, whether you take gold, whether you take anything. There is a stock market also. People tend to enter the market when it's actually going up, the price starts going up. and they miss the bus, they miss the opportunity. And that's what we are reiterating. There's a great opportunity in front of you. I understand there is difficulties in terms of the current challenges like your job security and the salary cuts. But if these two variables are to great extent is taken care of, and it's not affecting you, and if you're in need of property, I think you should step in and buy the property. That's the point. I'm not being ruthless or insensitive to the fact that you should go and buy the property when there is a job cut and a salary insecurity happening in front of you. If these two variables are not there, if you need a property, please enter.
Absolutely. I mean, the timing is like right now people are running after gold. The time to buy gold was I was having a chat with some colleagues of mine. I said this was in 2016 when the gold bond was introduced. I said now is the time to pick up gold how much ever you want. I don't know how many did, but I did. 2,600 rupees right now. I'm laughing. So that's exactly what you do. You pick up, you invest at the bottom of the market, and you encash when you could at the peak of the market. So we have one last question, Shiva, before we close the session. There is a general saying that it's difficult to sell an apartment when compared to individual house. What's your view on this? What's the life on apartment, and what will happen after the expiry period? Okay, so
do you think there's an expiry period? I think there's a 60, 70 year timeline, and even after 60, 70 years, there are redevelopments happening, and so there's always a value for land. So land, as long as we are life in this planet and land is going to be there, I think the property prices are definitely going to appreciate and going to get returns. In terms of the resale value, and that depends upon the desperation level. The problem is that, as Navin rightly put it across, in terms of the land pricing, it's individual property. They don't go with the market fluctuations. They are not in need of a money. And it all depends on what drives a resale is an urge for the buyer that I need this property at any cost. And that also sometimes create inflation in terms of the price point. And the second aspect is a desperation at which he wants to liquidate that particular property. So this is what actually drives a resale is concerned. And there is, see, even today you'll see resale happening in micro markets like Bombay at 70, 80 crore level, and some of the trophy properties, especially in even Chennai also. You go to Boat Club, you go to Boys Garden, you go to some other great micro markets, and you want to be in the part of that micro market. People are willing to put money even today. So that is a different case scenario. So it all depends. That's an urge for the customer to buy the property. Similarly, there are occasions where the seller wants to get out of that, exit the property for some reason. Could be for liquidity. He might be getting out of India. There would be various reasons for that. So it all depends. So resale is driven not on a normal business sense. It is driven from a individual necessity. That's the reason you see resale getting, and also the other important aspect is ego. Because he's not trying to sell, because two individuals, sometimes I don't like your face, I don't want to sell the property today. So that also steps in and not take a decision of not selling. So it all so the resale in that perspective becomes a difficult game. It is not very organized, it's not very structured like a primary market in the residential real estate.
Yeah, well, but I think that scenario will also change. It's a matter of evolution.
That's
I think next 10, 20 years, because we have not had high quality apartments in the market we have just had apartments in Chennai for 30, 40 years now. There were no apartments. So it's only now when redevelopment happens, slowly the apartment comes into the secondary market, will an evolution in this secondary market will arise. I think there's a scope for JLL. Shiva could mastermind another business there, but I think the industry will also evolve. So selling is, I think it's a demand supply thing. It's a perception thing. So I really don't think it's not 100% true that selling one is harder or easier than the other. Yes, there is always the charm that comes with an individual house, but it comes at a higher price point. So finding a buyer in the first place could become that much harder. And yeah, I think we answered all the questions here. So I think we've had a wonderful 70 odd minutes here. We've been live talking to audience, and the audience have asked some pretty candid and critical questions. They've not spared us since this is our first session, nothing. And Shiva, I think you've taken out the time. Thank you very much for this great insight that you gave on throughout the about the Indian and the Chennai real estate market, and took your time to answer questions from our viewers. Thank you very much, Shiva.
Thank you. Thanks, Navin. Look forward.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.